Hey y'all, Hubcap Dylan here with another card stuff and coffee. Today I thought instead of showing a piece from my collection or something I brought home, I would show a couple of pieces of car art that I did. Yes, I did have other interests besides cars and hubcaps. In fact, art was one of my interests. And when I was younger, a family friend, he was kind of like an uncle, had drawn me a couple of cars. And that would later on inspire me to take a try at car art. I also got my inspiration from looking at magazines that might feature some car art, or if I went somewhere where there was automotive art displayed, I would get inspired by that as well. And I bought a couple of how to do how to draw car books, excuse me, and just kind of learned on my own. I was also fortunate enough to get some knowledge on Photoshop, and that would later help me to do digital art on my iPad. But once in a while, I like to rely on the old paper and pencil. In fact, I got started using these Ohuhu markers. They're pretty good. I have some other markers as well, but these are the alcohol markers. And I got a good little set of these. And this is just a lot of my supplies here. I've got my coffee, of course. You got to have your coffee. So sit back and enjoy yours while you watch this. And one thing I learned out of the how to draw card books is that some people use this whiteout for doing highlights. And a fun fact, Michael Nesmith from the Monkees, his mom invented liquid paper, which is where I think this evolved from. It's a Bix brand. I thought that was an interesting little fun fact and tidbit. So this first piece I'm going to show you is one I did for my dad of a 56 Merc. I was going to go two-tone with more of a peachy color, but then I ended up making it of a more pink. There are a couple areas where I wish I would have done different, but I was pleased with how this turned out, and I haven't used these markers a whole lot. Here, I'll give you a better look at this. I kind of outlined it in red and still kind of working on the chrome, and I just kind of I try to get as much detail as I can. I'm trying to come up with my own style of doing, or my own technique, let's say, of doing the chrome, and I was pleased with that as well. And then I just kind of, sometimes I will draw the inside of the car, like the interior a little bit, but I just kind of tinted the windows on this one and give it kind of a different look. When I was a kid, I always, liked to copy cartoons and stuff. And when it comes to car art, you want to make it your own. You don't want to just try to draw, unless you're drawing one for someone of their exact car, you want to make the car your own. You want to draw something that is your own. It's good to have references, but make it yours. Over time I got to where I just try to do the rough draft without, referencing what I'm drawing. I just start out by trying to draw how I visualize the whatever car I'm drawing, and then later on, then I'll add the details, referencing it, and then I use gel pen on these highlights, and now I also used well, I'll get to that one on the next picture, but up until recently, I was just signing my name on my artwork. Now I'm using the Hubcap Dylan brand. Been using that for a while, for not real long, but anyways, I want to move on to the next picture. for the next drawing. So I did this 51 Ford Woody for my mom. She likes the Woody wagons. You see plenty of the 40 Ford Woodies, and those are more common. And so this one, I liked that it was a little different. Now, achieving the wood grain wasn't as hard as I thought. I just kind of streaked it in and just made darker streaks. And then I used a darker color for the shading to give it more definition and just to make it more stand out and look more realistic. And all in all, it turned out better than I anticipated. This one I wanted to give a beach surfer vibe, but I also wanted to give it kind of a hot rod vibe as well. I also took the scrolling pen and used Indian ink for the outline. Instead of using the gel marker for the white highlights, I first started off with an oil-based marker, and then I went to the liquid paper or the whiteout. I'll have to say I am more pleased with how this one turned out. All in all, even though there are changes I would make to this one, I still like the way it turned out. I think it's pretty cool. I do like the color that I went with, even though it turned out to be pink. There are changes I would make with Woody as well, but I'm sure with the next picture I do, there will be techniques that I wish I would have tried on these two, but you learn as you go. Last time I showed you all this 1949 license plate tag, and I also asked which state it came from. Well, if you guessed California, you're correct. All right, let me take a quick sip of coffee here. I want to get on my magazine. Got another Christmas mug. Snowman on this one. All right. So seeing as I just showed you the two Ford pieces I did, I was going to look through one of my small pocket magazines I have that features custom shoebox Fords. That's one I will get into in another video. However, yesterday I picked up this issue of CarCraft magazine from October of '62. And I had just done a short asking who was ready for car show season, because I for sure am. So I thought we would go through this issue here. And it is CarCraft again, Roadster Pictorial Street and Show, Showtime USA, Portland, Oregon, and Detroit, Michigan. I'm close to Portland, or not real close, but I'm not that far from there. But I've never been to the Portland Roadster Show. I've been to the Boise Roadster Show that they have every March, and that's a good one. But I hear Portland's pretty good from what I've seen and heard. And here it says Spark for Speed, Magnetos, and Dual Coils. Car Model Craft, how to build a model from the ground up. Now, and then monograms really big T, or big T. So it's a big version of a model they have. So this would be good for someone or some of you who are into models and might be watching. And here's the Peterson Publishing Company logo. And they have the Peterson Auto Museum in Southern California. Anyway, let's get a good look at this before I start turning pages. And there is Darrell Starbird. Darrell Starbird. He was one of the car designers of the day, along with George Barris and Gene Winfield. Anyway, get a better look at that car. I got some content I'm kind of planning as far as models. And I do have a model that, I mean, I'm not a model builder for by any means. I've had some mishaps and then gave up, but I did start on one, and I have 25 tea bucket. And it's also, I can do one of a Model T, so I might start working on that. Where I can't get out and paint right now, I might just try something different and do a little patina job. I don't know, we'll just have to see, but that'll be be later on in a future video. Anyways, let's take a look inside. I won't show you the first ad because that is a cigarette advertisement, and I don't know how YouTube would feel about that. Has anyone seen the Winston commercial there, though, where Fred and Barney are taking a break while Wilma and Betty do all the chores? And I think I'm getting it right, but anyway, they go behind the house and sneak behind there anyway, and they smoke. They start smoking Winston cigarettes. I mean, that was so. Anyways, here is Daryl Starbird with a miniature version of the Big T. Let's get it. Looks out of focus here. Let's. So he's one of the nation's, or was one of the nation's top automotive customizers and restylers. And it was $10.98 for the kit. Does anyone remember watching Leave It to Beaver when Beaver wanted that gasoline powered model and his friend talked him into using his money and he ended up breaking it, and it would have been okay for him to get the model, but he wasn't too honest about it. Anyways, I'll move on here and let you see the whole model. Sharp, smooth, super detailing, big 1 inch or big 1.5 inch scale. Oh, now I would like to have that display there. That would be awesome. Don't accept a copy or substitute. Says only monograms make the Big T. Ask for the Big T by monogram. All right. Here's some tires and wheels you can get for the monogram, or for the Revel. This is not Revell. Sorry. And it's got these mags and Revel's custom car parts shop. You know, when they had the smaller books, I don't recall seeing a lot of model advertisements in here, but they were trying to reach out to the youth. And this is actually here. This is pretty cool. I don't know if any of you recognize him, but it's Ed Big Daddy Roth, the creator of Ratfink. He was a car customizer. His widow, she goes to some of the car shows around here and sells Ratfink shirts and a lot of stuff. I have Ratfink Monopoly, but I didn't leave it in its plastic. I took it out and did play a game on it one day, and I don't believe in just letting things just sit around. There's some things, yeah, that I won't take out of the package, but anyways, that's pretty cool. I'll have to show you the big patch on my jacket that I have that's Ratfink. And then this is just an advertisement for CarCraft. Shows one of the big shows. I think of, some of the books that were written. I can't think of his name. He wrote a lot of, he wrote Hot Rod and Street Rod. And I have a copy of Hot Rod back from the early 50s. It's like the second publication, and it was by a different. The first one was Dutton and Publishing, and I can't think of what the second one was. But anyway, I have the printing by the second publishing company. And in one of the books, or Street Rod, they go to a car show there toward the end, and I wasn't too crazy about the ending. It was, well, you just have to read it. You can get it on Kindle. Anyways, I'll stop yakking. I'm going to kind of skip through some of these here. Oh, here's one. This is for Strombecker. It's just called CC Shops. Well, we'll look at this Ford motor here. Hot Rod Magazine. Ford Performance. Let you look at that. But anyway, CC Shops, and the reason I was talking about Strombecker was they got these boys here, and they're looking at a model road racing set, or they sure had the neat toys back then. I mean, they got cool stuff now, but it's not like it was. But anyways, I think they were targeting the youth of that day and trying to get them into the hobby, and I think there were some that probably end up being big into cars, and I think they need that these days. They really need to do something different with everything that goes on, and I think the internet is a good thing. Oop, that's loose. I think the internet is a good thing, but I really think that they need this kind of stuff. They need something where you can learn, maybe not so much a trade, but learn something that you can make into a hobby. That's my opinion. And then here's a Super Tack, $23.95. And then here's an advertisement for Rod Custom Speed Show, Auto Show. And here is another Revel advertising piece. These car crafts really got into the models back then. I might have said that earlier, so it probably sounded like a broken record. That's like a Bonneville Salt Flats racer. I guess his was another of those stories that ended in a tragic outcome. But you always hear about the Mickey Thompson tires, and there's the motor, and all right, I'm going to move on. Well, I'll just, hey, we were looking at a Ray Bestis in the last video. I believe we were looking at Ray Bestis. There's a model car competition. I just think of the kids involved back in the day, and there are still some that get involved in the hobby and in the car culture. And if you're a parent, you ought to look into getting something. You're into this sort of thing, and you think your kid's into this sort of thing. I would recommend getting some of these old magazines and letting them look through them. They could even do reports and stuff on these. And here's another. Nope. I thought it. Yep, AMT. This is pretty cool. Authentic Model Turnpike. I'm just going to set this to the side. I'm really digging this magazine. The Turnpike Racetrack. So these aren't really a model car as much as it is a slot car. That's what I would call it anyway. It's got time trials, high and low speed transmission in every car, competition racing, trials, steer around obstacles, backup, stunt show driving, and thrill shows. Okay, here's the article on the Big T. Shows the model alongside the big version. There's the model and all the accessories that come with it to build your hot rod. I have another modeling book I need to go through. Let me give you another glance at it. And tachometers. You can spend a lot of time looking through these. I'm paying attention to what's in these, but I think doing this video, I'm kind of paying a little more attention. I think I just fumbled on the tripod. There's more. I'm going to have to get another drink of coffee. And Roadsters at Random. This is pretty cool. This is a 27 Roadster on a 32 deuce frame. I never really used to be a whole lot into these kind of cars. I was always into the muscle cars when I was younger, and then I had a 67 Firebird, and I don't know, I'm kind of got more into the old 50s. I've always liked 50s cars when I was a kid. I always loved 50s. I loved the 57 Chevy as a kid, and I liked the 50s cars. I liked the 40s. I almost tried to I was looking at a 48 Plymouth when I was younger. Wish I'd have got that car. I would have kept it. Anyways, this is in Ashland, Oregon. But I do like these old 30s cars. Definitely got to read through this when I'm not making a video or doing something else, drawing or at work. And here's another one. I've got a lot of reading material, and I'll probably get more, so I got enough stuff to last quite a while to make quite a bit of content. So, and I've got something in the works. If I can hit up to 500 subscribers, I have a little something fun planned, and I'll tell you more about it. I spotted something and at the antique store, and I just got this cool idea. So, but we'll get into that once I kind of see what's going on. And I think I just turned the page wrong. Nope, I didn't. This is a 31 Ford. This is in Quebec. I've been kind of looking through these for some drawing ideas. Yeah, this thing, it's had it, but it's staying in the collection. Sometimes I have something and I'll put it away, and then I'll notice a tear and I'll think, that I did that tear? And then it seems like I've seen that tear on it, and then I'm blaming myself because I feel like I've made it worse and ruined a piece of automotive history. Someone cut this out. Well, Showtime USA. And this here is in Detroit, Michigan. This is the annual Detroit show, which is now known as the Detroit Auto Show, or Autorama, I think it's called. That's a crying shame. That's a 59 Chevrolet. Well, you can't touch those now. Unless they're Hot Wheels like I found yesterday at Walmart, but you cannot touch a 59 Chevy. Man, you could go back in time. I do like this 55 Chevy. Is this Starbird's? It's Star Custom Shop. Exoda. I'm gonna go back here. Nope. Yep, it's Darrell Starbird. I thought when it said Star Custom Shop, it was Starbird, because I think I've heard that being referred to as that before, or a shop being referred to as Star Custom Shop. And Darrell Starbird. I hope this isn't getting too blurred out. I like the way they did these lights. I kind of came up with a little car for drawing group I'm in, and I did like 61 or 62. Was it Chrysler Newport or New Yorker tail lights? I was supposed to put a bunch of cars together, and different makes, kind of like a Johnny Cash type car. And I did like a Studebaker and a 55 Chevy, and I'll have to show that one. I kind of want to revisit it and draw it a little more realistic, but I like the way it turned out. But I think I will show that one. And then J.C. Whitney. Oh, I have a J.C. Whitney book. We might go through that in a video. It's from the 50s, from like the late 50s. I got it in an estate sale in Boise. I'm ready for more estate sales. Well, I don't know if my bank account or wallet's ready for it, but I am. And then just got all these little parts. There's the wild woodpecker decal. Is that a tiki? Voodoo head, gear shift knobs. Can you see that? Club jackets. Oh, I think I'm lost. All right. Car club jackets. But anyway, I like the old jackets like that. And models, how to open the door, Richard. A general description of how to install two basic types of hinges. And I've been kind of seeing some little shorts on these, on how you do these door hinges and stuff. I definitely don't want to attempt something like that. I'd have a mess and another model to trash. And hot rod books, some little books they come out with. 25 cents each. But as I stated before, that was a lot of money for its time. I think we're going to kind of skip this a little bit. I think we're getting close to the end. I think they cut out the best part, so I'm a little disappointed. But it's still kind of neat going through this. There's still some neat stuff, and a complete book of hot rodding, only $5.95. $50 if you buy it today off of eBay or an antique shop. Control for curvers. Popping up the flathead. That was in the next month, so that would have been November of 62. Might have to find that issue now. CAD tail lights. Cal Custom. Okay, that's pretty cool. I got something I'm working on right now. I started before it got cold, and it's Cal Custom related. I will be doing a video on that too. More club car or car club jackets. And we'll look at this. This looks like, is this Moon Eyes? Vintage Moon Eyes. New House Automotive Industries. All right, and that is that. A chopped up version of the 1962, October 1962 issue of CarCraft. Maybe I'll find a better version of this and then we can revisit this later and look at that whole article. I want to thank y'all for watching and spending some quality time checking out my artwork. Please give this video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of this content, please plop it down in the comments. And please subscribe to the channel. I'd be happy to have you as a subscriber. And please ring that bell for notifications, because plenty more content is on the way. And y'all take care. Heptap Dylan signing off.